from Ralph, the two dots. It's a continuation, really, of yesterday. No, the whole evening tonight. Pshita. It's obvious. Shediyosa materis. That when you have the case we were talking about, you had 199 chulin, and one of Orlah fell in, one saw of Orlah, and then another saw of Kili HaKerem fell in. So what makes the fact that you knew about the Orlah first and it joined the 199, truth is that need to have the other way. It's that's to speak. You had 200 chulin, right, and one of Orlah fell in, right. And then that Kili HaKerem fell in afterwards. So the fact he knew about the Orlah ahead of time is what allows the Orlah to be nullified in the chulin, and then that in turn nullifies the Kili HaKerem which falls in afterwards. Okay, so it's your awareness which makes the order significant. What happens if you yourself did not find out, but your friend knew in between? Now, this is a very interesting concept. In other words, were you to find out altogether after both the Orlah and Kili HaKerem fell in, it would be awesome. Because bittul is contingent on your awareness. Bittul is really not, how should I put it? It's not an objective state, it's a subjective state. When you become aware, then we say Achrei Rabim Hatos, follow the majority, and it's Bata Barov. But that's only if you became aware. If you didn't become aware, so you don't say follow the majority. So therefore the Orlah fell in, and the Kili HaKerem then fell in afterwards. You become aware in the meantime, so there's no bittul. And now the Orlah and Kili HaKerem, which compromise more than ratio 1 and 2 to 200, aser the mixture. So you have to come aware in between the falling of the Orlah and Kili HaKerem. What happens now says more if you did not become aware, but your friend became aware in the middle. Does that work as well or not?
It's like the opposite of the Shabbos.
That's right, different to Helemos. Right. The antithesis of that. Here it's a pater as opposed to there where it's mechayev. Exactly. Okay? So pshita shidiyasa mataraso. Yidiyas chaveru ma'ushet tatir. What if his friend became aware? Hey chavida. What case is that about? Hulo yadabo, chaver yadabo. Today about case where he doesn't know, his friend does know. Yedias, okay, and we don't resolve the question. It's what remains up in the air. Let's go on to the next question.
In this case, the friend should know.
Well, he might have been away.
No, it's let's say the friend. No,
right.
Like if you have still a situation where you're wearing Shabbos, you're not aware of it.
Yeah.
It's Shabbos. And the friend tells you when you have to take off your clothes.
Right.
But if he doesn't tell you, then just proceed home.
Yeah.
So there it's better that he doesn't tell you. Here it would be better if he did tell you.
That may be, but here we're talking about a case even where again you're out of town, so you have no way of telling you. Right. Okay. Idiyas sofik mausha tatir kidiyas vadai. An awareness which is not definitive. Does it work as if it's definitive? What do we mean by this? Well, what are we referring to? Hey Chavito, what's the case? In front of you two containers. One of which has 200. Which does not have 200 to cancel Orlah Kili HaKerem. Nafla saw, and there's a big typo here, it shouldn't be true, it should be Orlah. Nafla saw Orlah till Achas man. If a measure of Orlah fell into one of them, you don't know which one it fell. And then afterwards fell should be Shnia, a second one, right? Either of Kili HaKerem or something else. And then afterwards you measure the containers, and you find, lo and behold, that the Orlah and Kili HaKerem both fell into the same container. So in Tamer, which has 200, corresponding to it. In Tamer dias safik dias vadai. If you're going to say that a questionable awareness is the same like a definite awareness, Orlah, then you knew when it fell. You didn't know to which container it fell, but you knew that it did fall. So therefore, the 200 canceled the one which fell in, and afterwards, when the other one falls in, the 201 in turn cancel it. But the idea in between it was not a definite idea, because at the time it fell, you didn't know to which container it fell. Only later on, retroactively, when you measured, did you become aware that it fell into the 200 container. So that's our question, whether you say also here the idea in the middle, which is only a suffix idea, is mechalik or not. Okay? It divides up or not. Haisa kupa. Did we just finish it off now? Did we just finish it off now? Can I read till the end of the page? Okay. Haisa kupa. No, of course not. Haisa kupa. Or you had another possible scenario. It was Haisa kupa. You had a achas. There was one container. Safik yeshba masayim safik ein ba. You don't know if it has 200 or not. Or nafla sa'a orla l'tocha, or a measure of orla fell into a container, and you knew how much is in the container, but ain't you doing nafla sa'a im nafla im lo nafla, you don't know how much fell in. Which in one case you're misupok if there are 200 in the container corresponding to what fell in. The other case, you know how much is in the container, but you don't know how much fell in, right? So all these are Yediyah Safek cases. They're all cases where the Yediyah is a Safek. And afterwards, it's on the second measure. And then you found, afterwards, when you measure, you found that there were 202 altogether. If you're going to say a Safek, it's like a definite Orlah, then it cancels. If you say it's not like a definite yediyah, then ain't only don't say achrayim lahatos, because by the time you know for sure everything, the second measure is falling in, and therefore you would not say it's batel. And of course the Gemara does not resolve any of these issues. Okay? Now we go to the next mission. Hatruma malas orla. Truma cancels orla. Varla malas truma, and orla cancels truma. Keta. Also. So our truma, you have a measure of truma shenafla and peah, which fell into 100, which is batel. V'achakach naflu shloshes kab and orla, and then a half measure. 3 kab is a half measure of orla. O shloshes kab in shel kilokaren, half measure kilokaren falls in. Zui shat truma malas orla. Here the truma became part and parcel of the majority already, and it uproots the orla or the and vice versa, the orla can uproot the truma as well. Ha'orla malas hakilayim. Orla can cancel kilayim. Hakilayim es orla. Kilayim can cancel orla. Va'orla es orla, and orla can cancel orla as well. Now that's very funny. It makes no sense how orla can cancel orla. Let me explain why it doesn't make any sense though. If you have, let's say, 200, you have 200. And a measure of orla falls in, full measure, which is batel. Then another measure falls in. What's halacha then?
You said that the first orla is canceled by the second orla.
Well, vice versa. We said the first orla joins with the chulin to cancel that which is falls in afterwards. But here we wouldn't say that, because here we say the principle choser v'neor. It becomes aroused again. What does it mean it becomes aroused again? When the first saw fell in of orlos, that was batel, because it wasn't a shiur. But when the second saw falls in, we say choser v'neor, it arouses the first saw again.
But that's not what we said the other day. Yeah.
No, we never spoke about where the same thing falls in succession.
We had 2 cases where the 2 saw of orla falling together, and then another case where one fell in and another one fell in separate.
Never had an explicit case like that. At least not that I recall. No, it was always orla and then kili karen. Okay, first orla and then kili came down to be different substances. Because then I wouldn't say choser v'neor. And it gets aroused again. Because they're not 2 of the same substance joined together.
So here it combines.
Right, they combine. Precisely.
So it makes a difference if it's simultaneously or...
If it's the same substance, it makes a difference simultaneously consecutive. That's right. Okay? However, so what does it say here that Orlah overcomes the Orlah? So the Levi Yerushalmi brings down that here referring to Orlah overcoming Netar Avai. Let's say you have Netar Avai, the 4th year's crop in Yerushalayim, where you can't redeem it, so you want to cancel it. Orlah can join in order to help cancel it. That's what it's referring to. Not Orlah, it's Orlah literally, but Orlah, the quasi Orlah, which is the 4th year's produce in Yerushalayim. Ketzad. How so? Saw Orlah Shnafla Masai. If you measure of Orlah, which fell into 200, V'achakach Nafla Savod Orlah, and then afterwards fell a measure or slightly more than Orlah, Savod Shel Kilayim, or saw slightly more of Kilayim, Kilei Kerem. Sorry, of Kilei Kerem. Zoi Sh'Orlah Malas HaKilayim. This is a case where Orlah takes over from Kilayim. Kilayim is Orlah, Kilayim takes over from Orlah. V'Orlah is Orlah, and Orlah takes over from Orlah. Let's make sure I got that right. Yeah, that's exactly what we're saying. It's just Mishnah's repeating itself. Okay, in all these cases, the Orlah joins into the permitted substance in order to cancel the next forbidden substance which falls in. Okay, says Gemara, do you pay some enough? Amir Rabbi Kurias. Losha Truma Malas Orlah. This is an interesting thing. Truma doesn't, when you have the 100 chulin and 1 Truma, so the Truma doesn't join in to cancel the Orlah. Ella, rather, well, not the Truma cancels the Orlah. Ella Shat Truma meets Tarefis, Ima Chulin. The Truma joins together with the Chulin, Lasos at Lahalos Orlah in order to take off the in order to cancel the Orlah. This is a very simple thing. I know why you have to say this even, but he's saying that obviously the Truma by itself is insufficient. The Truma by itself is one small measure, but the Truma joins with the Chulin in order to cancel the Orlah. The Truma, which is 1, joins together with the Chulin, which is 100, with the other stuff, which is 100, right, in order to cancel the remaining Orlah. Okay? Is that clear?
Because it was there's only 3 common of Orlah, right?
Is it 3 carbon here specifically? Yeah, it must be right, because it's half a measure, yes. Yeah. Hi.
You missed the whole bladder.
We're up to Yud Beis Amud Aleph, Nicha, which is around the 3rd line down. New legs? I don't think they have transplant surgery for that yet. Where were you? Exercising?
No. I was picking some stuff at
the Coal Center?
So I picked it up. Unfortunately, the bookstore.
Oh, it's a bookstore across the street.
They killed it.
The Eight Sahara. Okay.
What? Oh, coming up.
Now, Nicha. This makes sense. Truma Malas Orlah. Truma cancels Orlah. Makes sense. The Truma combines with Chulin in order to cancel Orlah. Why is that? Shekain Torah Malas Tmeya. It's like Torah which cancels Tomei. But my question is the other way. It says more Orlah Malas or Truma. How does Orlah cancel Truma? Let's say you had Truma which has to be canceled, so the Orlah can join with Chulin in order to cancel it. How could that work? Klum Tmeya Malas Torah. Does Isser cancel Heter or Heter cancel Isser usually? Heter cancels Isser, but if you say Orlah cancels Truma, so what are you saying? Isser cancels Heter, because Orlah is also to everybody, right? Whereas Truma is mutter to Kohanim at least, right?
But the proportions are different. It's 1 to 200 for the Orlah and 1 to 100.
That may be. We would have to find a scenario which exactly works.
You can't dilute it. You can't make the measurements.
And he says, you see, where does it say that you have to
Just a wall of things.
where do you have this? It's a correction.
It works both ways. Works both ways. We understand one and not the other. Go on. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm trying to formulate an automatic.
Just to be a believer, you have to leave it for
Somehow it should be related to the portion.
He didn't argue with me on the fact that he believed the Torah. I mean,
If you have 100 measures of truma, of chulin,
and the fact is why
and you need to cancel, and truma falls in there,
I said it.
so even up to one measure of truma, so it's batel. So then that's mevatel. That in turn, the truma, which is batel, goes to chulin, in turn is mevatel, a measure of orla, which falls in. Okay, because it makes the whole thing permissible, at least permissible for kohanim, the whole thing. What about the other way around?
All right. This is how you have 200
No, wait,
measures of
one second. What? Yeah.
20 measures of chulin.
He's talking about like
One measure of orla falls in, and so that's canceled. Then 2 measures of truma fall in.
2 measures of truma. That's a good case. Now, that's one question: how does the orla join to cancel a truma? Because we never.
Some truma falls into 100 parts of the full. Now, if the other falls in, why is it?
The orla falls into how much? The orla, how much you need in order to cancel orla? 200, right. So you have to have a half measure of orla fall into 100 in order to make it canceled. Okay, that's what Gemara is talking about. And vice versa, it's what Dr. Spidel just said. If you have a double measure of truma, which falls into 200 plus 1 of orla, so then the orla joins in to cancel it. 202 of orla, 202 including orla. So the question is, how can orla join to cancel truma? Orla is isser, truma is heter. Isser doesn't ever cancel heter. Isser only, if the heter cancels isser, it absorbs it, but not vice versa. No, that's not like Shabbos. I'm not talking about mutter or osir. I'm talking about here that heter means for permissible food stuff and isser means impermissible food stuff. Okay, so again, loitz l'zorim. Loitz l'zorim shema itzel kohanim. So he answers back the question with the question. In this case here, let's see, we got one more question.
Different types of bread, right? You have to give up more of your face.
What's the problem? Not if you say orla is canceling the truma. Orla is not mutter.
This is everybody. So how could that cancel the truma, which is
Okay, so the Gemara turns the table. The Gemara says, what about truma itself? Truma itself is an isser. So how could truma cancel orla? It's isser v'zoyim, right? So that's
relative isser.
what?
So if he wants Kohen Yisrael Shalom, he can bring it to get coins now. He can Yisrael Shalom. Kohen Yisrael Shalom can go into his own area. Born and built. Also has the court, so he can make a marker on the outside.
I don't know. Let's take more answers. Let's go back to that afterwards. Okay. So it says where loyal zarim shema itzel kohanim. I lost my train. I'll just say I love my train of thought. Loyal zarim shema itzel kohanim. Maybe you're going to say maybe you want to say that when Truma cancels Orlah, it's not permissible to Zorim, it's only permissible to Kohanim, right? In other words, precisely because Truma is only heter vis-a-vis Kohanim. So let's say that when Truma cancels Orlah, that now the mixture is only going to mutter to Kohanim and not to non-Kohanim, right? It's an interesting concept. If you think about it, what we're saying is that Truma is only a relatively more permissible substance, and it's only can cancel prohibited substances in the state where it's permitted. So therefore, maybe I could say that the only time, or the only thing you can do with Orlah, which is canceled by Truma joining into the fray, is to allow the Kohanim to eat the Truma, not a regular Zor to eat the Truma. That's more his question. Okay? Again, when is Truma called heter? Only vis-a-vis a Kohen. So maybe if you want to cancel the Orlah and use the Truma in the act, so who can be considered mutter for? Only for the Kohen. So therefore it's only bata vis-a-vis a Kohen, not vis-a-vis Yisrael. I could say that.
The Orlah is only
mutter for a Kohen now, and not for Yisrael, because the canceling substance, the Truma, is only mutter for a Kohen. Okay? So Mara says, yeah, look, Mara does it. So it says what? Maybe you say that it's not mutter for Zorim, it's only mutter for Kohanim. Can't be. But rather than we learn Orlah malas hakilayim. Orlah cancels kilayim. But kilayim malas Orlah, and kilayim cancels Orlah. The Orlah esa Orlah, and Orlah cancels Orlah. And shani tamon beitza zorim beitza kohanim. In this brisa, it doesn't distinguish whether it's mutter for kohanim, mutter for zorim. In all cases, it says it's mutter. Now, that's the end. No, it is a weak answer. That's what I'm going to say. That's the end of the sugya, which sounds like basically, well, as the brisa says, it's mutter to everybody. But Yerushalmi makes it better. He says, it's not really in the Gemara what he says. It's like a super commentary. But he says is that, listen, you got to realize that there is since the brisa is saying, without any restrictions, that Isser substance number A works against Isser substance number B. So that means that by definition, Isser cancels Isser. Your premise is wrong. You thought only heter cancels Isser. No. The fact that nobody says differently means that it must be that Isser cancels Isser as well. So it's really a svara. The question is what the logic is. We see only heter cancels Isser, or to make it a broader, more simplistic definition, substance cancels substance. The answer is that we say what? Substance cancels substance. And therefore, Truma can join with Chulin in order to cancel the Orlah. And it can be mutter even for a non-Kohen. Okay, because substance is cancelled by substance. Okay? Says more further. You have a measure of true which fell to 200. Amrei Lezer says, don't say it's in 200, it'll talk Tisha Tisha. Of course, we had this in previous Mishnah, and that it said there that Rabbi Lezer is trying to set up our Mishnah like Rabbi Eliezer. Remember, we had a machlokas whether you need 99.1 or 99, right? No. 99.1 or 100. In order to be matir truma, you need 99.1 chulin, or you need 100. Okay, because you need some total either 100.1 or some total 101. So Rabbi Lezer says, he holds like Rabbi Lezer that it's 101. The Rabbi says, Leis kan tochmei toch tisha v'tisha. You don't have when is the truma for which fell in Asr, it falls in 99. If it falls in 99.1, then it's okay. Okay? So to saw Orlah, Shnova Toch Masayim, it says a measure of Orlah fell to 200. Amrei Lezer said, Leis kan Toch Masayim, it's not 201 altogether, El Toch Mea V'tisha V'tisha, but into 199. And we say it fell to 199, it makes up 200.1, and 200.1 is enough to provide a cancellation, a bittul. Okay? Says more further. Mishnah actually. Kol mechamitz, anything which ferments. V'metabel, or spices. V'medamea, or mixes. Truma, by orla, v'kilei akerem, it's also. Now this is taking ferments, chametz. It's even if the proportion is less than 1 to 200, or less than 1 to 100 for truma. It doesn't matter. The fermentation, the rising of the dough as a result of the herb or spice, is what makes it recognizable as prohibited, even if the shiur is less than the proper shiur. Okay? It's a very big chiddush, which I'm telling you right now. Again, originally, let's say you had in the dough that you were, the sourdough using as the starter in order to get your dough mixture to rise. So let's say that sourdough is far less than 1/200th. It's 1/400th of the bread. It's still usher. Why it's still usher after you made the bread? Because the principle of a fermenting agent having far more prohibited. So even if it doesn't reach the ratio of 1 to 200, it still remains usher. Why would you think that is?
We had something similar to that in Challah, when there was you hired to be mafresh Challah.
Yeah.
When you had 5 fourths, right? But if it fermented and if it got larger in size, didn't that?
Yeah, but why? But that's having to do with Orlah. What does that have to do with Orlah?
Because it's not the actual substance, but the eventual size that it becomes. It's the end. It's the final determining factor.
Again? Say it again.
It's not the original size.
Yeah, but
of
rather.
the substance, but as it ferments, it gets larger.
Yeah.
It's the volume that determines.
Yeah, but the volume far exceeds the amount of a sourdough which was there. So it should be okay. So he says the Gemara is going to say a very nice svara. The Gemara is going to say, the svara is, it's like nikar isser. Since it's fermented because of isser, it's the isser is permanently embossed, so to speak, on this bread. Tainted, right? So even though it's less than a shiur, it taints the bread, and therefore you can't use the bread as a result. You see that? Do you like it? Okay. Bishami says also, if you introduce tamei, let's say truma, into the mixture, so then it's mitame everything else. Now Beis Hillel says, it's only the foreign introduced subject is a kibetza in size. Otherwise it doesn't transmit tuma. And Dustoik ish kfar itma, he was a student of the elder Shammai himself. Varmei says, Shalti is Shammai Azoki, asked Shammai the elder. Varmei, he said, Tuma does not spread from the sourdough which is introduced unless it's more than a kibetza inside. Why they say that by somebody who ferments or spices or mixes in that yati machmir, or where do I say machmir? Min b'mino. There, because by min b'mino the shiur is when it gets mixed into a similar type, the shiur is 200 for kilaim, no ifs or buts. When is it sometimes a chula, sometimes a chumrah? Min b'sheno mino. If you have apples get mixed up with oranges, or grapes with crackers, and so on and so forth. What's the min b'sheno mino? Ketzad. How does it work? Sor shel chitim. You have a cake, or not a cake, a starter dough, a sourdough of chitim, of wheat. Shenava toch isas chitim, which fell into a dough of wheat. V'yesh bo kedei l'chametz, and has capacity to ferment. Ben sheyesh bo laos be'echad remeah, whether there has a capacity to cook 101.
It's redundant.
Vein chamber is charameya, and therefore you want to compare the enough chuli to cancel the truma. Also, it makes no difference. It's forbidden.
Also, if Tana said, also, half a mina busis for amma. I would have thought a busis for amma was enough. That you could just build in busis for amma.
Okay, so we see here that which can ferment causes an issur regardless, which is really what we said at the beginning of the Mishnah. Even if it has more than 1 in 100, it still ferments, right? Because it has ramifications now. It's as if it's never bought. Ein bo laus bechol mea. What happens if it does have capacity to rise 600 times its 100 times its current size? Ben sheyesh bo. I'm sorry. It doesn't have the capacity. They're not enough to cancel 1 in 100. That's what I meant to say. They're not enough to cancel because there aren't enough things in the suffix. Ben sheyesh bo k'dei l'chametz ben she'en k'dei l'chametz aser. So regardless of whether there's enough in order to ferment or not, it's also because it's not. It's still. It's still. Sorry, I lost my train of thought again.
Didn't answer it.
Yeah, if it's if it's less than 1 in 200, so then it doesn't matter if it can ferment or not. By definition, it's going to forbid the mixture because less than 1 in 200. If it's more than 1 in 200, then it's still not scot-free. That's what we're saying. It depends if there's enough there to ferment it or not ferment it. If there's enough to ferment, as we mentioned before, fermenting or causing dough to rise makes it also if there's far less than 1 in 200. When do I need 1 in 200? Where there's less than enough to make the dough rise. Then I go by the proportions. So basically, the rule of thumb is that whatever it takes to make the dough rise is awesome. If you have more than that, it's awesome. If you have less than that, it's potter. I don't think mutter, but it's potter in this case. Okay? Am I making myself clear at all?
If it's less than 1 to 200.
If it's less than 1 200, the proportion is less. Meaning there's more of the forbidden dough, the forbidden sourdough. So it makes no difference whether it can create fermentation or not. This stuff is awesome. If it's more than 1 200, it means it's sufficiently diluted, hypothetically should not be a problem. Still, if it causes the dough to ferment, that's the major catalyst. So then it's awesome as well because it's as if the yeast is recognizable. It's tainted, right? Okay. That's all by min b'mino. Where do you have a case to be makel to be machmir? Min b'sheino mino, when it's min b'sheino mino. In other words, let's say barley gets mixed up with, well, he's going to give a case. Keta, grisim, she's bashim adoshim. You have beans which got mixed with lentils, and they're cooked together. There have enough beans to give a taste to the lentils, which are not truma. Whether they're enough to cancel 100 or not enough, usr. It's forbidden. Why is that? Because they give off a taste. So where's 100 a good shiur where there is no taste? But where there's a taste, then then you have to get past whatever creates the taste. Otherwise, it's not okay. Okay. If they don't have a taste, Ben sheyesh b'hem l'halas echomea, ben she'en bo l'halas echomea, mutter. If it doesn't have a taste and it's min b'shein or mino, so it's mutter no matter what. You don't even need the 1 in 100. It's interesting. The 1 in 100, 1 in 200 shiur was stated by min b'mino, where it's a similar type which is diffused to a similar type. We have to give a shiur. But by min b'shein or mino, I say you don't need these shiur. It always goes by no setam. Right.
Is that the saying? I don't remember.
Also, yeah, no setam. Yeah, whatever taste it has. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay? Dark, whatever positive taste it has.
Wasn't there a machlokas about that? No setam of
If there is, then it's going to be here. You'll see. Okay? Says tomorrow. Rabbi Yosef B'Shem Rabbi Chilfei. Rabbi Yoina B'Shem Rabbi Shimon Lakish said, why did Beis Shammai and our Mishnah say that even a lesser kibbutz could bring tumah to the mixture? Don't we know all over that the only time you get tumah is where you have a kibbutz on it, you didn't have it. So Shimon Lakish said, Kitapuach osin also Beis Shammai. Beis Shammai look at whatever chametz you have here as if it's an apple. Now, apple doesn't mean apple here. What does apple mean? Bloated. Tafuach, expanded. So therefore, whenever the dough is fermented by the sourdough, the tamei sourdough casting its catalyst throughout the dough, Beis Shammai holds that is as if it got bloated to above and beyond the shiur of a beitzah, and that's why it imparts tumas ochlin to everything in the in close proximity there too. Okay? Says the Gemara. Tamatiyah, we learned over there. Mean meyat seva. You have water which is colored with dye. Both say so b'shlosh lugin. And got poured into the mikvah before the mikvah was complete. If 3 lugin got poured in, it passes the mikvah. However, if any place is subshim mara, it only goes by the scale of measure. It doesn't go by color. Okay, color is immaterial. Now here I have a whole line which you guys don't have. Anything which only creates a psul if it's 3 lug, so then posted with sobshinimar, if it looks different, it's also no good. Now, what? Again, if you have water which had a color to it, so it goes by the same shiur as any water. It doesn't go by the changing the visage of the body of water in question. And Meir says that if you can I'm misremembering Meir for that's a problem. And Meir said if you could pass it with 3 lugin. No, I wrote it right the first time. If you can pass it 3 lugin, you can pass it even with less than 3 lugin. Less than.
He said we don't know whether it's a chalukah, and we don't know whether it's talking about good or bukta. We don't know about any of that. It could be talking. In other words, what he's saying is it could be talking.
It was about the color.
Right. We don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it is now. Let me read inside again. Time to learn over there. If you have cold water, possibly if you have 3 lug of it, but not when it changes the color, because the color is water. That's Otana Kama. Right? Meir says, you know what? Anything which passes it, if it's 3 lugin, in other words, if it has, oh, now I got it. If it would pass as it did in Mayim Shuvim, it passes even if it looks different. There's not enough of it. The shiur from Mayim Shuvim for drawn water is 3 lug. You don't have 3 lug. Abba Brei, look inside. Abba Brei, Rav Nachman said, explain. Divi Rabbi Meir, what does our Meir hold? Mishum she'ena nikeres. The Shiva nikeres. Mishum Shiva nikeres. Says that even if you have less than 3 lug, which is generally the minimum shiur from Mayim Shuvim for drawn water to pasal and mikvah, if they're colored, then the chashiv even less than 3 lugin. Why is that? Because she'iva, they're nikeres. It's recognizable that they're Mayim Shuvim. Why? Because they have a unique color unto themselves, right? And that's just like our Mishnah says more. Rabbi Yehuda B'Sher Rabbi Ab said, I see the Rabbi Meir, Ki Beis Shammai, Rabbi Meir is going like Beis Shammai in our Mishnah. Just like Beis Shammai, the Amrei, Mishum Chimutz Machmitz, just like Beis Shammai says, if you use the sourdough, which is Tamei, to cause your dough to ferment, even though it's less than a kazai, less than a kabetza of tamei dough, and it shouldn't spread tuma. But since when you use it ferment, now it's recognizable. You see it in front of you. How do you see it in front of you? Because it rose. And the rise it came because of the tuma, right? So too over there. By she'ivos, also we say nikeres, even though there's less than the proper shiur, which generally is mechayiv you for this purpose. Nonetheless, since it's recognizable, because you see a risen challah, so therefore you have to answer it. Okay. Yes. That's a combined with shamer, mishmechimutz machmitz, keremer, mishum she'iva nikeres. Now Gemara says very interesting thing. Where do I say she'iva nikeres or chimutz nikar when there are two components of chumrah here? A, it's an usher substance. B, it also has tumah attached to it. But what about yesh bo tumah? It only has tumah attached to it, ve'ein bo isser, but it's not usher. What about in that case? You have such as, a very interesting case which he says here. Where Levi Yerushalmi explains, a saw of chulin tmeim, of sourdough, a saw of sourdough chulin tmeim fell into chveis. 100 saw of chulin tahirim, of sourdough. Is it batel or is it not batel? No.
Because it's chulin and chulin.
Right, that's Gemara's question. You have tamei chulin, which fell to tar chulin. What's the status there?
Whether the coin can or not.
Right.
It's not truma, but just whether the coin can.
That's right. So,
I'd say it would be the same proportion.
the Gemara doesn't resolve it. The Gemara said the tzad here not to say like you. It's that say where do I say it's choshev? Where I say it's choshev because it's usher, so then that's a catalyst. Also say that it's a unique stage into the process. But where it's mutter anyway, so then it's not put it. When you have chulin fell to the chulin, it's nothing. Since it's nothing, it's not forgiven enough to say, follow the conduct of Rove here and say B'tah B'Rov. How so? It's all chulin here. Of course you can eat it. Yeah. No, it's allowed to eat chulin tmeim. Yeah, sure. Now to me, in the mason is allowed to eat chulin tmeim. Okay. So, and we don't answer this question. Now, here's an ironic thing. You use a sourdough mixture, which is usher, to make other sourdough. The Nas says isser, so they're both usher. Reba al rishon ubitlo. Let's say inadvertently you put more dough in with the first batch, and you mevatel the sourdough therein of Orlah, whatever it was, but you didn't leave it. You didn't do the same thing to the second batch. So nasa ikar tfela, right? You gimel aleph now. That which was previously the primary, so the first batch is now secondary. That it's mutter, because now there's enough in there to cancel. With tfela, the second batch, which was always second stringer, so to speak, right? Here, it retains its severity. Why does it retain its severity? Because you weren't mevatel it, right? You didn't add enough. You didn't add enough. No, not sourdough. Enough new growth in order to cancel it. In other words, again, if you added. You had sourdough, but you introduced it to a mixture. Now you asked that mixture, and then they took sourdough from that mixture and planted another mixture, right? Not planted, fermented another mixture. I'm making myself clear. Somehow tonight I'm not talking straight. you have a case like this. You have sourdough which fell into regular chulin, right? Sourdough which is also, which fell into regular chulin and caused it to rise. That's also, right?
It's also because it's tummy.
It's tame, or because it's orlah, whatever the case may be, it doesn't matter. It's also. And now you take sourdough from the fermented stuff and put it into another batch. So the second batch is also usher, right? Because the first batch came usher, so to the second batch. What happens if, however, before the second batch was done, you went and inadvertently you added a whole bunch of chulin to the first batch, right? Enough chulin sourdough that in and of itself could have caused the dough to rise, right? So now the issa on the first loaf fell off, right? But the issa on the second loaf still remains, right? That's what we're saying. Nasa ikar total tfela ikar, topsy-turvy. That which previously is primary is now secondary, which previously secondary is now primary.
Because it became also...
Right, it's very obvious. I'm just making it obfuscating tonight. It's very simple. Simple, yeah.
We're looking for things that, we're always looking for something new.
Right. It's not nothing hidden here. So, next case. Again, Tabi Gimel Sorshel Truma Shnova Tocha Isa. Sourdough of Truma fell into the dough. This is a cool case. Vigbio. Okay, you picked it up. You're going to give it to a Kohen, right? Now, of course, you don't know which one you picked up. Look, you pick up one out of 101. You don't know which one you're picking up, right? But you picked up one. But lo and behold, what happened after you pick up one? The dough became fermented anyway. So at first I wanted to say, raising mataras. Why did it ferment? Because of the truma in it. Doesn't matter. I took care of the truma. When I take care of the truma and remove it, when I took one out of the 101 to give it to the Kohen. So the fact that it turns out that wasn't the truma actually which I picked up, because were it the truma that the dough would not have continued to ferment. Nonetheless, since the one I says since I picked it up to give, so I assumed that was the truma, and not that which is left. That's the Gemara's havim here, and so therefore that which is left, even though it's like a legal fiction, even though that which is left continued to rise, it's because the truma is really still there. It's as if the truma is taken out. Says Gemara, come on, baloney. Uzikavasah te'ena shel truma. So what are you going to say? What happens if you have a fig of truma? Shenav l'tochmea, and it fell to 100. Huk ba'achas man, and now you picked one up, and then you gave it to Kohen. Then after you gave one to Kohen, you said, whoops, shucks. There's the fig over there in the mixture of 100, and it says truma on it. So what do I ignore it? Because you already gave one to the Kohen, do you ignore the fact that this one you see clearly is one which is truma? Of course not. I know that this one's truma, so I have to pick it up now too, right? And give it to a Kohen, right? So how can you compare so too here? Just because I already gave some to the Kohen, but now I'm seeing it's fermenting, so I know it's still there, so I should have to give it to the Kohen. So there's more no. Taman lohu kariser. There, by the case of the fig. So I specifically recognize which one is also, right? Here, by the case of the sourdough, so I can't see the sourdough, all I can see are its results. So therefore, Taka, there's an interesting chiluk. That here, since I took off the one to give the truma, so the rest becomes mutter. Even though I know the sourdough is still there, because I can't actually see it. Except according to Beis Shammai, of course, we said previously, we hold that chimutz gives it heker. But if you don't know the Beis Shammai, so then you have no problem here. As opposed to a fig, where there I can identify it as such, as being the one which is also there, I have to take it out, even if I already took out one previously. Okay? Rabbi Yonah boy. Now a new question on our Mishnah. Our Mishnah talked about why did our Mishnah talk about V'lama lo tzinion grease and shades bashli moris? Why did our Mishnah talk about beans which got mixed in cooked in with lentils? Why didn't talk about beans which got cooked in with rice? I'll tell you why. our Mishnah is going like opinion that says no sitam v'gam is a typo, should be osir. Because rice and beans mix, but lentils and beans don't. So for our Mishnah, which brings down lentils and beans, muscle that no as being a mixture and saying it's osir, muscle no sitam v'gam is osir. Says the more, even though it has a negative taste. No. I feel command the more no sitam v'gam mutzah. Even according to video, normally no sitam v'gam, if it gives enough taste, you're exempt. Here it's different. Why is here it's different? Because modu acha shu asur. Here it's different because it's forbidden. What does it mean to it's forbidden? He himself contrived this case. He put the beans with the lentils. So what are you going to say? It's not no sitam l'shvach? Of course for him it's no sitam l'shvach. Otherwise he wouldn't have done it. And therefore in this case I say that it does join together, it does create an issue. Okay? Grease and show to truma. You have beans of truma. And it should be sheni's bashl, which got cooked in with lentils, adoshim shulchulin. No sitam, and now the beans are giving a taste of truma beans to the lentils. Then biba leim adoshim. Afterwards, if you add more lentils, of course, b'shogi, not intentionally, shulchulin mutter. It's mutter because though aim about l'nisel chatchila, here it's not being about chatchila. You add it on later on unintentionally. Akama yirbe. How much do you have to add on? There's another interesting question. Okay, you want to add on it inadvertently. When you're adding on inadvertently, how much do you have to add on in order to make it mutter? So it says the Gemara, again, bear in mind, you have beans of truma which fell into lentils of chulin. So how much now do you have to add on in order to cancel the beans? So it says more, a very interesting thing. Al daiti to Rebbe. It's a tifluch to Rebbe Yerushalmi Orlah. Machlokes Rebbe Yerushalmi Orlah Rabbi Yossi. Al daiti to Rebbe. According to Rebbe, Du Amar, he said, at shiarbo kulon, you need enough beans, enough lentils, to cancel all the beans and lentils which were there originally. Those the beans of truma. They fell into lentils. Now you want to cancel it. So you have to have enough beans corresponding to 20 times the entire mixture. I got mixed up. You have beans of truma found to lentils. They asked for the lentils. Now you want to be matcha the lentils. You add more lentils. Yeah, how many more lentils do you have to add?
So, isn't it just to make it 1 to 100?
No. It's min b'shein amino. Because it was originally beans of truma and lentils of chulin. So here you have to have add enough lentils to cancel all the beans and lentils which were originally there. Why is that? Because chaticha nasis nevela. He holds all the lentils which got mixed in with the truma beans became osir of themselves. They became isser. You have to double the whole thing, right? Or more for that matter. Al daite to Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Yossi, however, do amar at shiur b'anoflim. Shmuel says you only have to put enough lentils in order that with the lentils which are originally there, they should cancel the beans. Because he doesn't know chatichal nasis nevel in this case. He doesn't know that the lentils become as osir as the beans, only the beans retain their flavor of isser. Okay? Now, greasing, and it should be shel truma. You have beans of truma, she's bashul im adoshim shel chulin, which got cooked with lentils of chulin. They don't give a taste. It's okay, right? So it's okay. There's no problem. Rebal and greasing shel chulin. What? Now you added on greasing, more beans, but not of truma of chulin. So you have a definite taste of beans in this cholent. But it's not all beans of isser, because you added on beans of chulin to the beans of truma. So what's the status in this case? Do I say min ma'ores min or lesor? Do I say that the beans of chulin joined together with the beans of truma in order to make it a taste of Isser or not. So it says, lo teigdolim yain nesach. There should be no different than yain nesach. What's our loch by yain nesach? Kemada teim by yain nesach. I can test by yain nesach the following. At royes heter k'misheino. Halach is like this. Let's say you have wine of yain nesach. You pour some gallo wine. You have some gallo wine, a pint. And then you have a cup of gallo wine. And then you have 60 cups of water. And then you have a cup of Kedem wine. So now, if without the Kedem wine in there, I would say that the gallo wine is batel in the water, right? Now they have the Kedem wine in there, so maybe it's not, according to previous suga, we just learned it shouldn't be batel. Why? Because the gallo wine and the Kedem wine join together to overcome the water. But I don't say that by yain nesach. By yain nesach, I say, forget about the Kedem wine, leave it out of the equation, just look at the water vis-a-vis the gallo wine. Okay? You see that the Kedem wine is if it's not there. And also, look at the gallo wine. If it has enough taste to go against the water or not. Here too, look at the mutter beans as if they're not there. And also, look at the otzer beans. If it has enough to give off a taste to aser, then it's aser. If you love mutter, and if not, it should be mutter. Says the Gemara, the Amran, this Taka tells us you're right. Gemara reneges. Riba len grisen chulin mutter. If you added beans of chulin, just like the Kedem wine added on, it remains mutter. Why is it mutter? Because I always look at the Isser. The Isser, the Usser beans vis-a-vis the lentils. I don't add the mutter beans into the lentils. This is not like the case we began with. The case we began with at the beginning of the evening is that if you have Orlah which fell into 200 and was cancelled, and then another Orlah fell in later on, so I say Choyzer v'nior, that the second Orlah wakes on the first Orlah and the bittul is over, right? But that's only because they're both usher. But if I have the case where first I have mutter wine, usher wine, and then mutter wine falls in, so even though now I still have the taste of wine once more reverberating through this mixture, right? Nonetheless, I never look at the mutter wine in the equation. I only look at the usher wine. If vis-a-vis the usher wine is shishim, that's enough to cancel. And the same thing we said by the beans also. Beans of heter, isser, and beans of heter, right? Which fell into lentils, and although there's a taste of beans in the lentils, it has to be the taste of beans of the usher beans. If you don't have that, it remains mutter. Okay? Stop here.